Thank you for your interest in becoming a USA Swimming official in North Carolina. This short video will walk you through what to expect in your first several sessions on deck as an apprentice. More detailed information can be found on the North Carolina Swimming website under the Officials tab.
Okay, so you've arrived at the pool. The first thing you want to do is locate the hospitality area. That's where most of the officials are. You want to find a place for your belongings. That's the first step. You should have your apprentice sheet with you. It's always handy to have the rule book so you can review the blue pages while you're waiting around. Initially, the first thing you want to do is sign up so that the meet referee knows you're there, and you want to always make sure you identify yourself as an apprentice. Grab something to eat or drink. Make sure to keep yourself hydrated. Most decks are warm. You want to take your apprentice sheet and try to find the meet referee to let them know that you're an apprentice so they can review what's on your meet sheet, your apprentice sheet. Now you should be ready to go. You should have your uniform, male or female. It's white over blue and white shoes. From a shoes perspective, you want to make sure you have something that is good for a slippery environment. One of the most important things to have is a pen. You'll always need it for a lot of different things. You should have your credentials with you, but it's also possible for you to display your credentials from the USA Swimming website. So either on you or with you is the best approach. As you become an apprentice, you're most likely going to be issued a name badge. You should have that with you as well. You can order uniforms through the USA Swimming website. This is the standard meet uniform. In some cases, the meet referee may specify a different kind of uniform. Let's say, for example, a Hawaiian shirt or Breast Cancer Month pink shirts, something like that. So now you have signed in, you've got something to drink, you've got your rule book, and you wait until your assignment is given to you. You'll sit in a room full of other officials. If you're a stroke and turn, you'll go through a stroke and turn briefing. If you're an admin official, you may be directed to go directly to the admin table. Once you've been given your assignment as an apprentice, you'll be tied to a mentor. And from that point, you want to introduce yourself, might want to go over things that you have questions as you approach the meet. So from there, you're ready to go on deck. And that'll be the next section, is talking about being on deck and how that behavior goes. Okay, so now you're on deck. You'll be assigned a set of lanes, 1 or 2. Your mentor will be with you. So in the COVID environment, your mentor might be positioned in one area and you're right next to them. Once we get through COVID, you're going to be sort of buddied up. You'll be right along with your mentor. So you'll be on deck and you'll have your disqualification report that you picked up at the sign-in table. And just to note that you can pick up a tiny clipboard like this through Amazon. They're used for restaurant waitstaff. It's handy to put in your pocket. The other thing you're going to pick up at the sign-in table is your heat sheet. You want to keep that with you, and many meet referees prefer that you keep the heat sheet away from the front of you. You want to use that heat sheet when you spot a violation. First thing you want to do is, of course, raise your hand and make a notation. So the heat sheet's important from that perspective. So let's go through some basic outlines. Every pool is different. Every meet is going to be different. And you'll receive those instructions from a combination of your meet referee, perhaps another official who's working as a chief judge, or your mentor. So let's assume for the purpose of this presentation that you've been assigned your mentors with you on lanes 1 and 2. So your view of the pool should be these 2 lanes. Your mentor will describe to you what your jurisdiction is. Now, jurisdiction is really the area of the pool that you're going to be responsible for. Perhaps from the edge of the pool out to the backstroke flags, from the edge of the pool to the middle of the pool. they'll explain to you what that is at the time. So that's your field of view. The next thing we're going to cover is your position in the block area. The key thing is you've got people behind you, swimmers and timers. So you want to make sure that the timers behind you are able to see the starter and the starting block area. So the general position is right behind the blocks here before the swimmer enters the water, and stepping up to view the swimmer once they enter the water. A protocol, or what's your expected actions are on deck, perhaps you're way back here. There'll be a set of whistles identifying the event in heat, and then the longer whistle which brings the swimmer up to the block. At that point, you would step up and be ready to officiate. Take your mark, the tone, the swimmer enters the water, and you step up. You're watching the swimmer leave the area and your jurisdiction. Now, it's possible when you're assigned these two lanes, one lane has the swimmer, one lane doesn't. The object of fair officiating is to observe here and here in an equal manner. Okay, in part 2 of your training, you'll remember that we talked about relay takeoffs. You may be asked to help in that regard on deck. So during a relay, each swimmer has to touch the wall as the next swimmer leaves. So your job is going to be to monitor that activity. So there's a swimmer in the pool approaching the wall, and the next swimmer is ready on deck to take off. A relay takeoff is observing the feet as they leave the block and then looking for the swimmers to touch the edge of the pool. Simple. The swimmer touches the wall and this swimmer leaves. If the feet leave the block before that swimmer touches the wall, then that's considered to be a bad takeoff or an early takeoff. Normally, what we'd like to see is the swimmer leaving the block, you looking down, and you see the swimmer has touched the wall. That's very important. So let me go through that again. The correct relay takeoff is the swimmer is ready to leave the block. Once they leave, their feet leave the block, you look down to see that a swimmer has touched the wall. If that occurs, a good takeoff. You'll be issued a tiny form that you'll make notes on there, and that's also part of your Part 2 clinic instruction. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is walking what's called stroke judging from the side of the pool. Keep remembering that every meet is going to be a different format. Every referee might want to have you handle it a different way. I'm just going to show you some basics about walking. So each stroke will have a different combination of points on the pool that you will start and stop from. The first thing we want to cover is how you follow the swimmer. You're going to be given, again, another jurisdiction. So you're going to be covering most likely half of the pool. So in an 8-lane pool, 4 lanes. The objective is for you to follow the swimmers down on about a 45-degree angle. Remember now that sometimes there'll be 2 judges, one leading and one lagging. So as you walk and follow the swimmers, you want to keep your body moving in this direction, but your head tilted off to the side. What you want to avoid is turning completely to the side and walking sideways. So very simply, you're watching the end of the last swimmer in a lag situation. The swimmers are ahead of you and you're observing the strokes as you go down the pool. You lead the swimmer, you follow the swimmers right down into the turn, and then you return on the other side, remembering the other lead judge is in front of you. Okay, again, remember, every pool is different. Every meet is going to be set up slightly differently. We're going to talk now about being on the turn end. So there are stroke and turn officials. In this case, you're responsible for the stroke and the turn, whether you're on the turn side or the start side. A walking judge is responsible for the stroke. So let's go through the normal position. You're awaiting the swimmer coming into your jurisdiction. As the swimmer starts into your jurisdiction, you want to move up to the edge of the pool. I like to use a 1 foot forward, 1 foot back approach, keeping balance on the edge of the pool. This becomes important if you're on what's called a bulkhead or a bridge that goes across the pool. Many times they move as you're in the pool, so you want to keep your balance. So you're up at the edge of the pool and the swimmer's approaching you. What you should be thinking is, what is the swimmer supposed to be doing as they approach? In the case of a butterfly, as an example, you're expecting them to touch the wall with 2 hands on each side of you. Breaststroke, you're thinking of them coming off the wall and either taking a full butterfly kick before their first breaststroke kick when they surface. So those stroke rules should be running through your head as the swimmer approaches you. As the swimmer leaves your jurisdiction, you want to just simply step back. Now remembering, as you go through your apprenticeship, a stroke and turn official is going to be with you. So you're going to be off to the side. And you want to be watching their approach to the pool, how they handle it, and then asking questions all the time. Let's assume you're in position and you've stepped up to the pool, a swimmer's approaching, and during the course of making that turn, you have an infraction. You want to be able to raise your hand up. I like to use a 3 count, 1001, 1002, etc. You want to be able to make sure that the referee or a chief judge sees you and then approaches you to understand what happens. The swimmer's left your jurisdiction. You want to make a note on your heat sheet what you saw. When the chief judge comes up to you and asks you what the violation was, you need to be ready to address what your jurisdiction was, what the event was, what the heat was, and which of the lanes. The first piece of information you give them is the lane number. And then you discuss with them the violation that you observed and what rule do you think was violated. Okay, so the meet is over. You have to remember that you want your apprentice report to be reviewed by your mentor. They'll fill it out, and they'll seek a signature from the referee as a result of that. It's always good to keep continually reviewing your rules. So at the meet, there's a couple things you really should try to do. You want to meet other officials. It's a great way to learn about how they came up, what they're interested in doing, and learning about the different types of officials on deck. And by the way, you make great relationships. You'll learn about kids swimming. You'll learn about preparing for college and all the trials and tribulations a parent has. The basic thing you have to remember is it's a volunteer activity. You're learning all the time, and that's what the apprenticeship is. You're not going to fail. No one's going to let you fail. They're just going to keep helping you move along. The best way to deal with mentoring and being an apprentice is to ask questions. Someday soon, we're going to get rid of these masks, and it's going to be slightly different, but a lot more enjoyable. You'll be able to get closer with a lot of people. It's a great activity. You can do it really as long as you like. And we need officials on deck. So think about completing your apprenticeship as a stroke and turn official or completing your apprenticeship as an admin official. And then thinking about moving up into perhaps a chief judge or a starter role, and maybe ultimately even a referee. Again, we need you on deck. So thanks for joining us.